Welcome to Into the Woods, a journey with the tarot. Here, we wander together into the woods to explore ourselves, the world around us, and the mysteries and joys of life through the tarot. I'm your host, Mari, a professional tarot reader and a musician. Grab your deck, and off we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Into the Woods. I had so many different things I was thinking about, so I decided to compile them all into today's episode, which is going to be 8 tips for your personal tarot practice. Before we dive in, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has listened so far. Thank you for your kind words if you've talked to me about it. It's just really awesome that anyone is listening at all, and I've been getting some lovely feedback. If you are enjoying the podcast, remember to subscribe on whatever podcast app you're using or YouTube. If you would like, please leave a 5-star review and leave some kind words for me. That would be awesome in helping get this podcast going. If you've been enjoying my style of working with the tarot, you may also love a reading. And you can book a reading with me anytime from my website, mariofthewoods.com. If you have any questions about tarot that you would like me to discuss on the podcast, please feel free to reach out and tell me. You can either email me at info@mariofthewoods.com, or you can find me on Instagram or TikTok, also at Mari of the Woods. That's Mari for Mari. And just send me a message, and I'd be happy to address any questions or any specific cards you want to dive into deeper. Would be very happy to hear from listeners and address listener questions. Okay, so let's get into the episode today. 8 tips for your personal tarot practice. Number 1, ground, breathe, or otherwise calm your mind and nervous system before pulling a card. Often we want to pull a card when we're all worked up about something. Obviously, that's we're hoping for a solution or an answer to a really urgent question. But a lot of times when we are in that state of really wanting to figure something out, where it's very emotionally or energetically charged, we may not be the most receptive to intuitive information, to synchronicities, to even our own body. We might be a little bit out of our bodies. When we're working with a tarot, we want to engage that intuitive function, not the thinking function. And it's easy, even in tarot, to get stuck in your thinking mind. Oh, what does this mean? Oh, what does that mean? Is that good or bad? So it's really not about analyzing, overthinking, processing, etc. It is about feeling. It is about what's going on in your body. It's about memories, emotions that the card brings to mind, things that you associate it with. And when we are calm, when our internal chatter is quiet, right, through meditation or some kind of, calming practice, we can access that much better. So tarot is a beautiful tool for making the unconscious conscious, which is so empowering because then our unconscious patterns are not controlling us, right? That's the whole idea. And that's a lot of times why we come to the tarot, is because something's driving us crazy and we don't know why, or we're attracting something that we don't want to be attracting and we don't understand why. It's unconscious. But we have to be open to seeing it. And when things are really emotionally charged, a lot of times we're not. So again, when we're in a place of wanting to fix something really badly, we're overthinking, we're analyzing it, we're processing it, we are generally not open to the more intuitive information. We're not going to be thinking outside the box. We're not going to be thinking creatively, probably. So I find doing a short grounding and centering practice before pulling a tarot card to be so important. And so important that I actually just made a 2-minute grounding meditation to be used right before your tarot card pull. It's out on YouTube. I'm going to release it also as a bonus episode in the podcast. My desire to do this was that we kind of want to drop into that place pretty quickly, like our tarot card pull for the day or oracle card pull for the day. Maybe just something really quick we do before we get going. And so I made it nice and short, just 2 minutes. You can use mine, or you can do any other practice if you do breath work, or like literally just sitting down and feeling your feet on the floor for 1 minute before you pull a card. I would suggest if something is supercharged, giving it some time. Like, just don't pull a card at that time. But no matter what you're doing, if it's a daily card pull, if it's you're sitting down to do a spread, if you have something really serious going on, definitely take some time to ground and center. And in my meditation, I first take you through the grounding process of like feeling your body, noticing your feet on the floor, that breathing. And then also there's a process of opening up to guidance from the spirit world, to your angels, to any sort of universal force that's working for your good. We want to open up to that. Number 2, ritualize your personal readings. Whether you're doing daily, weekly, or just every once in a while using the tarot, make a fun and magical ritual out of it. Choose a spot that is your tarot spot or your oracle spot, whatever you're using. This is something I used to recommend to people back when I taught a lot of meditation. It helps build a vortex of energy in that place that is so conducive to the work you're trying to do. And then every time you go back to that spot, it makes it easier and easier to drop in to that headspace of, okay, now I'm doing my tarot pull. Okay, now I'm doing my meditation. For me, the meditation spot and the tarot spot are the same. It's just like how when we walk up to our desk, we're ready to work. When we go to our bed, we're ready to sleep. It's just an intentional place for doing that work. And it helps you drop into the mindset. It helps you set aside other things that you don't do in that space. Really important. So once you've picked your spot, then determine a simple ritual. This could be as simple as lighting a candle and then doing some kind of shuffling ritual, whether that's shuffling 3 times, riffle shuffle, and then you do some overhand and, you let a card fly out. Or maybe you're someone who likes to mix up the cards on the ground and then you pick whichever one is calling to you. So it doesn't matter, but whatever you decide to do, make it special, make it fun, something you enjoy doing, and make it feel magical. So I personally light a candle, I do some Palo Santo, I do a meditation for a few minutes to, as I explained before, get into a receptive state. I shuffle, I pull my card, I spend some time looking at it and reflecting, and then I typically do some journaling. That's part of my ritual too. I almost always do some writing on the card or reflecting on the card in writing. It's a special time that I look forward to every morning because I do a daily card pull. And it doesn't have to be that time consuming, but making that kind of special space for it can make it fun, keep the magic in it, and, respect the space, your divining space, your time for divination and for self-reflection. Number 3, work with multiple decks. I don't know if everyone would recommend this. Maybe some people say to find one that resonates and just stick with that deck. But one of my favorite things about tarot is the artwork. It's so amazing. So, of course, I have an addiction to buying decks, but you don't need to do that. But maybe you just have 2 or 3 decks that you just absolutely adore looking at and switch between them, try them in different scenarios, try them for different things. Maybe spend 1 month with one deck and another month with another. So you really kind of explore them in depth. But I'll just tell you that the different interpretation of the cards can be so inspiring and just change your reading entirely. And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, at time of recording, I pulled 2 cards for my daily card. Just 2 of them flew out, so I pulled them together. And it was the 6 of Swords and the Page of Cups. The 6 of Swords depicts someone sailing away in a boat. It looks like a sad scene. Maybe they're leaving something behind and are heading out with only the clothes on their back, that kind of thing. And the Page of Cups, of course, is our youngest of our court cards in the cup suit. And I was using the Tarot of the Witch's Garden, which is a new deck for me. And in the deck, the Page of Cups is like a water creature, like a water nymph, pointy ears and nude and sort of being held up by the water in this really magical way. And it added this whole new depth to my reading. So to me, it was showing this beautiful picture of someone on a journey, leaving the old things behind, heading into the unknown, and the Page of Cups is what comes next. So the journey is leading to the Page of Cups. Normally the Page of Cups is just standing on land, like in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. The page is just standing on land, holding a cup with a fish in it, looking at it dreamily. And that would have been also fine for the reading. But the fact that the Page of Cups in this deck was like a different creature, like alien essentially, it added this beautiful element that like the journey of the Six of Swords is this total and complete transformation into like an entirely different species. It's like where you're going, you're going to be an entirely different person. Maybe not even entirely human. And I don't mean that like really, but the Page of Cups is all about intuition, exploring imagination, play, those kinds of things. So I was so over the moon about that like added dimension of like, not only are you going to this place where you're maybe starting a journey of deeper intuition or connecting to emotions or something, those things that the Page of Cups tell us, but no, it's actually like this full, complete transformation into a whole different type of being. And that just like really excited me. So never would have happened if I was just using, I've never seen that in any of my other decks, actually. They're like always just humans, all the court cards. Wow, just like what a delight. So yes, use other decks. Another fun example, I was reading for somebody and I was using a deck where the Knight of Cups, funny that it's also a Cups court card, the Knight of Cups typically just depicted on horseback holding a cup of water and looking at the cup of water. In this deck, there was fire in the card, like fire at the bottom of the card as if the horse was walking through fire. So there's this like fire and water element. And she mentioned that she's a water sign and her partner is a fire sign. And she felt like it was sort of representative of both of them. And what a cool interpretation that only came to life because of the use of that particular deck. So I will say I'm not like a strict, it has to be Rider-Waite-Smith exactly, or you should start with Rider-Waite-Smith, you have to start with Rider-Waite-Smith, the original version. I just think all of the different artwork is there to inspire us. And I will say that there are some decks that maybe like the symbolism and the color and stuff isn't as intentional as I would like, and that doesn't always work for me. So you do need to pick your decks with care or just like try a bunch and see which ones work for you. I have a deck that the artwork is so cool, but it's so colorful on every card that the color has become kind of meaningless in a way. If you can imagine, it's just like every card has like rainbow, just like tons of like rainbow type colors. But color is an important symbol, and the use of bold red on a card is important, and it sparks something in us, a recognition in us, a whole series of associations with the color red. So if like all the colors are on every card, it takes away like one layer of symbolism. So I'll just throw that in there about working with decks, but I fully encourage you to work with multiple decks and see what happens. Number 4. Pull cards regularly. This could be weekly, daily if you would like, but have some kind of regular practice. This helps you build a relationship with the cards so that you see how they play out in your real life. This will be so instrumental in learning the cards, like more so than memorization, more so than relying on the book, which is actually has to do with my next tip. So pull cards with some regularity, have some kind of, again, like a ritual with it. I actually keep track in a spreadsheet. I have a daily card pull and I keep track in a spreadsheet. I go back at the end of the day. I write down all the ways I feel like the card expressed itself through the day, stuff like that. And that way I have this like beautiful vocabulary of how the card has showed up. And sometimes really funny things come up. Like the other day I pulled the Devil card, which has naked people in the front. And it was on a day that I was going to like a naked Korean spa. And I was just like, ha ha. Like, is there a deeper meaning there? Not really, but it was funny. I have learned that the Devil card comes up with nudity somewhat frequently, you know, regardless of whether it's like sexual or not. It's just like nudity is a thing. So funny. But you'll start to develop this language with the cards, a familiarity with the cards, because you're pulling them frequently enough and thinking about them frequently enough so that at some point you'll say, oh, I pulled this card for this reading for myself a while ago and it was about that. And today it's coming up more about this. So now I'm seeing how it's coming through in two different ways, but somehow the themes still overlap in some way. And so, yeah, super magical. Definitely pull cards with regularity. Number 5. Don't rely on the little white book or the book that comes with the tarot deck. So there's always a guidebook that's attached to the tarot deck. And sometimes they're so wonderful. Sometimes they're really in depth. Sometimes they feel more like an afterthought. Either way, there's so much more to the cards than can be written on a page of a tiny, tiny book. And I think it's worth reading and keeping. I don't think you need to throw it away. And I love to reference it every once in a while and just go, I wonder what this, deck creator thought about this card and add it to my list of, themes and things. But I think it's so important to go beyond what's in the book in your tarot practice and read some real books. Find some podcasts or YouTubers whose interpretations you like. So I'm just going to give you some of my favorite books for getting started, just in general for anybody. Number 1, of course, 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack. She has so many great things to say and then does go deep into each card. And it's, beyond just kind of basic predictive or traditional meanings. And I think she's so lovely. So definitely check that one out. Tarot for Change by Jessica Dore. Such a cool one that brings in a bunch of psychology practices and ties them to the tarot and the tarot cards in a very interesting way. It's a lovely modern approach and felt very unique to me from a lot of the other books that I've read. And then lastly, Tarot as a Way of Life by Karen Hamaker-Zondag. And hers is all about connecting it to Carl Jung and that sort of archetypal symbolism. It's great. Also goes card by card, more in depth, wonderful books. And I think if you pick one of these up, you'll see how much more there is to each card than what could just be said on the tiny page of a book, which is usually a couple keywords and then a small description. They really are vast worlds, each one. All right, tip number 6, use spreads. So I love a daily card pull, and I think a single card pull can be so powerful. But from my experience reading for people and using spreads a lot, I love the ability to expand a little wider. And I find that in using spreads, there's this moment where you see how all the cards fit together and create this larger picture that is so amazing. And sometimes it takes time to get there. Like at first you're maybe reading them like one card per question, but if you zoom out, like let's say you do a relationship reading and it's, one card for you, one card for the other person, one card for the relationship. It's like you take them one at a time and you look at the card and how it pertains to you. And then the next card, how it pertains to the other person. But at some point you need to zoom out and see the relationship between the cards. How do they talk to each other? What common themes do they have? What's contrasting or what's at odds with each other? And it's just really cool to start interpreting multiple cards together and not just thinking of like the meaning of one card at a time. It's like it's like in astrology going from being like, oh, my sun sign is this, to then saying like, oh no, my sun is in this sign in this house, square my Mars or something like that. It's like it's like the relationship between, oh no, it's not just that my sun is in Scorpio, it's that my sun is in Scorpio in all this context. So that's my analogy for spreads. It's like zooming out a little bit and taking a peek at the whole sky, right? In astrology, you're looking at the whole picture with a spread. I've offered a number of spreads in earlier episodes. You can find some of them on my Instagram at Mari of the Woods. And there are just tons of spreads out there on the internet. Usually in the guidebooks, they will suggest a spread or two. And some of my favorites are just simple 3-card, past, present, future. 3 cards for like a tough decision, choice A, choice B, and, maybe a card for just external guidance or the next step ahead. So there's a lot of ways you can play with 3-card spreads. The relationship one I just said, 1 card for you, 1 card for the other person, 1 card for the relationship. There's so many. Celtic Cross, which is a huge 10-card spread. Lots of fun things to play with. They're just fun too. Like it feels really magical. Number 7, read with and or for your friends. Opening up your tarot practice to work with friends is super cool. You may not be down to do this. It might feel really personal, or like maybe you're in the broom closet and your friends don't know you do tarot or whatever. But I find that adding a social part to the practice can be really fun. I did a couple readings at a bachelorette party. So it was a friend of mine and 2 other ladies who I actually didn't know before the trip. It was super fun. They wanted me to do tarot readings. It was their first time ever interacting with tarot. And the readings were so fun. And there was just this amazing added element that we did them all together, and that other people could kind of like weigh in and say, oh, this makes me think of that. Or, I know you really well, and I think this. And it's so awesome to have, instead of like one mirror, which is the card and yourself, right? You looking at that. It's like now you have your friends as mirrors too, and they can sometimes see things that you can't. And so it's just this lovely way to expand your practice. And then, of course, reading for your friends, if you enjoy reading for yourself, can be so fun. And like pulling, cards regularly, reading for other people will also like vastly deepen your relationship with the cards as you relate it to situations in other people's lives as well, and see how they look in their lives and not just your own. It's really cool. Number 8, remember that there are no bad cards. This is a really tough one because it feels like there's bad cards sometimes. I think going to tarot with any kind of fear is just problematic. In episode 3 of this podcast, I talk a lot about giving your power away to the cards and how dangerous that is and how it sets you up for anxiety and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just driving that message home again here. There are no bad cards. Every card, Death, the Tower, 5 of Cups, 3 of Swords, they all have medicine. They all have hope. And in the end, all the experiences contribute to your growth and to what you came here to do in this world, in this body on earth. There are no bad cards. All of our experiences, hard, difficult, all of our suffering adds to the context and the fabric of our lives. I think it's in Tarot for Change, the book. The author quotes a study that basically says that the happiest people, or like people who are most content, are not people who have had the least struggle. It's actually people who have had like the broadest experiences, right? People who feel the high highs and the low lows. So the widest range of experience, of emotion, that's what makes us the most content, or gives us the ability to step back and be like, wow, this is life and I get to live it. And it doesn't have to be this sliding scale of good and bad. All of the cards have medicine. All of them are actually there to help us acknowledge what we're already experiencing. They don't tell us something bad is going to happen, right? They tell us, wow, you're actually experiencing grief and feeling sad, but you're just shoving it aside. The cards didn't make that happen. You're living that. We're living it. So the cards are just a mirror. There are no bad cards. I've said it eight times probably. It's so important to know. And just understand that like all the cards have medicine. They have a message you can take to heal. They have things they're trying to show you and reveal about yourself that were already there anyway. But, maybe we just didn't have a clear view. So remember that going into your practice, know that the universe is on your side, that we're on your side. It's really easy, I think, in today's world to just feel like a victim or feel targeted or feel oppressed, right? That stuff is really real. But in my day-to-day life, it's filled with love. Love for my family, my friends, nature. And so I just have to constantly remind myself that it's all love. It's all love. So I hope those 8 tips are helpful and maybe just fun to think about or try, some of the more practical things. Definitely check out my 2-minute meditation for before your card pull. I'll be back next week with more tarot goodness. And until then, enjoy yourself.